When he was 16, Hucker Nolan quit school and left his folks' shack in the tiny swamp community of Mossy Flats down near the river over on the Florida side. He moved into town and rented a room in the dingy old second-floor hotel over the state liquor store across the street from my mother's cafe. His front corner room had the scenic west view of Main Street and our cafe, plus the southern view of the train depot. I'd seen him around town before that, and I thought he was very handsome, like a young movie star, like Robert Wagner. But I really didn't know him at all. Then he started working for my mother at the cafe, stocking the beer and drink cooler boxes and sweeping up and mopping after the cafe closed at midnight. Soon after that, he got the job working at the movie theater. When he turned 17, he was hired as the full-time day shift driver for the city cab company. He wasn't getting much sleep, leaving work at the cafe at 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning and reporting back to the taxi stand at 8. That's when my mother told him 2 jobs was enough. 3 was just too many. "This pace is going to wear you out, honey," she said. "So, as much as I hate to do it, I'm going to have to let you go." A few months after he turned 18, Hucker received his draft notice. Mother and I drove him up to Barton, our county seat, to meet the bus that took all the local draftees up to Montgomery to have their pre-induction physical. He was told by some of the men in the pool hall to be sure to wear underpants because he would spend most of his time walking around in them. That was a miserable couple of days, he said, having to sleep in a barracks with a bunch of snoring men and wear drawers to boot. But, he said, the food was good and they played a lot of card games when they weren't bending over and spreading their butt cheeks. When we picked him up a couple of days later, he was all smiles. They'd found he had a heart murmur, so the Army didn't want him. Hucker had had rheumatic fever when he was a kid, and they told him he just might have a heart valve problem. Mother was concerned and thought he should go see Dr. Greenley. Hucker just laughed and replied, "I ain't got no heart condition. Them Army doctors is crazy. But it got me out of going in the service, so it's okay with me." It was difficult to remember what life had been like before Hucker Nolan came into mind. He was a hugger, and I wasn't used to that. My daddy used to hug me a lot, but he died when I was 6, and the memories of his hugs were fading swiftly. Mother hugged me when the occasion called for it, but she wasn't the hugging kind. Hucker was, though. It was as natural for him as breathing. If he liked you, he just had to touch you. If he really liked you, he hugged you. Early last spring, the ancient rust bucket Hucker had been driving for the past 5 years, with the passenger side door tied shut with a rope, finally coughed its last breath and gave up the ghost. Originally, it had cost him the grand sum of $40, which he earned working nights at the cafe. For the next 5 years, Hucker tried unsuccessfully to save enough money from his pay envelopes to purchase a nice car, but he just couldn't accumulate the cash. Finally, Mother decided he needed a car note. That would force him, she said, to learn some responsibility. So she financed the $450 for him to buy the green 1949 Mercury Coupe. Having to make a car payment to my mother each week taught him the true meaning of responsibility. He faithfully handed her the cash every Friday night when he got his pay envelopes. I once asked Hucker how he came to have such a weird name. He laughed and said, "That was Mama's idea. When she was a little girl, her teacher read him a book called Tom Sawyer. She loved that book, and she especially loved Tom's best friend, a wild little swamp kid called Huckleberry Finn. So Mama decided whenever she had a son, she'd name him Hucker, and she did. When the midwife cut my cord and asked Mama what she was going to call me, she said, Huckleberry Nolan. Papa didn't like it and threw a fit. He wanted to name me after him. Can you picture me being called Sam Jr.? I never told Hucker his name was supposed to be Huckleberry Nolan."